Hey guys, welcome back to my channel today. Harvey also says hi, he is here for the introduction. We are going to be actually doing a first impressions test and try on of the new GloWish by Huda Beauty skin tint as well as the bronzing powder. So let's get started with the first product. We will talk about the skin tint first. So as you can see, I already have my eyes done as well as my brows. Whenever I do my makeup, typically I am doing my eyes and my brows first. This is the first one, the GloWish by Huda Beauty Multidew Skin Tint. Now you do get 1.35 fluid ounces in here. This promises to be a dewy glow, healthy looking skin, fragrance free. Interesting. Huda does tend to have quite a bit of fragrance in her stuff. So that's actually kind of nice to see. Let me just check. No, she does have some essential oils in there, in particular the Rosa Damascena flower oil. So there's a bit of a rose essential oil in there, and there's the Rose Damascena flower water, which isn't as potent as the oil, but still. So there's a little bit of fragrance halfway in between on the ingredient list there. It's not fully fragrance free. I think technically you can say fragrance free if there's essential oils, which is the biggest trick, honestly. Biggest trick in the book. Here we have the tint, and I picked up a light shade. I think I'm gonna be way too light in this one. This looks very, very light. This is number 1 Fair. If this is a skin tint, let's see how well I can make this work. I really hope, like, this is very, very light. So this may wash me out. I may have to exchange for another shade. This is a 12-month shelf life. It says it is made in Italy, and it's interesting because it has an iridescent cap. That was also something I wasn't really sure about, is how much iridescence is in this product, because it does almost look like the iridescence of something like this, which is the Flawless Filter, or something like the Auric Glow Lust, which really are meant for priming the skin and an extremely sheer tint, right? Like, we're talking about the tiniest coverage level with these guys. I'll pump a little bit in my hand here so you can see this is the consistency. Might actually work, we'll see. It's not as light as I thought. Oh, I'm a little nervous. It's actually a little bit thicker than what I was thinking, but that's good because I do want it to actually show up on the skin. Okay, so according to Sephora, it is a radiant finish, light coverage, and it's also a vegan formula, so that's also good to know. This foundation is 92% naturally derived, vegan, fragrance-free. I hate when she says that because it's technically not quite true, but whatever, I digress. Waterproof, sweatproof, gives you second skin vibes. Since it's a light coverage, I'm gonna see how much it's gonna go over my redness as well as any of my acne scarring. You can see I do have some things to cover typically when I do my makeup. So let's get started. I'm actually using the BK Beauty sponge to apply it. It doesn't say what they prefer to apply it with, so I'm gonna try with my preferred method, which is a sponge. It's really nice that BK Beauty actually sent me this stuff to test out, so thank you to the brand for that. And I'm gonna see, right off the bat, this is a little bit more dense than a typical beauty blender. It's not matching me terribly. I was actually worried it was going to be quite light, but this does seem to be working out okay. So remember, this is number 1 Fair. This might actually be the lightest shade. Let me just quickly see from the Sephora app here. Yeah, so the lightest shade is Fair. Typically, I am more of a light neutral when it comes to a lot of foundations. So what I can actually see happening is perhaps those very, very porcelain gals maybe not matching, but perhaps this could still camouflage to still work for extremely fair people. You can see I've been picking it up off of my hand here. There's quite a bit of iridescence to it. So just be careful when you're doing that because you might get quite glowy very, very fast. I can see this product being good for 1 layer or priming the skin and then going over with a foundation that's not necessarily as glowy, you know? I actually really like this BK Beauty sponge for getting right in here. You can see where I'm saying, like right at the nose and the eye area, because the Beauty Blender doesn't have as much of a tip right there, so it's a little tough to navigate right in between. But so far, you guys, like, this is 1 layer. I'm still blending it into the skin. This is quite radiant. Like, I would use this to add a little bit of glow and then put a foundation over top that isn't as glowy as this, because this is quite like, wow. You know, I don't know. I would leave it here max, but personally, and you guys know I love glow, and maybe it's because my shade is slightly off, but I would say this is quite bright. like almost white light bright glow. I personally wouldn't use this by itself. I would put a foundation over top for sure that would add some more pigment back in and would kind of camouflage this a little bit. You can also see that because it's just so bright, like it's not really covering my redness, and that's not really what I was expecting. It's still red in my cheeks. It's red right here in my bridge of my nose there. These are all spots that are typically red for me. It's not covering that up, which, you know, that isn't a big surprise. But can you guys see like really how radiant that is? That is one layer. I would not do any more. Like no more. This is quite radiant, that's for sure. I put a little bit of the Flawless filter on this hand so you can see how it glows. And then this is the hand I picked up with the Huda Beauty. So they do have very similar glows. However, you actually need less product with the Huda for the glow. So there's a little bit less control there. You can get quite glowy with the Huda one without really trying. Whereas the Flawless filter gives you a little bit more control because on this swatch here, this was like a hefty swatch of the product and then blended out. The Flawless filter gives you a little bit more cushion. You can add a little bit more or a little bit less. But if you go with this one with the Huda Beauty, the tiniest layer can light you up very quickly. And yes, that's gonna go to show that you're gonna use this up really slowly, and that might be very, very helpful for you to really get your money's worth. But it also kind of speaks to the lack of control. You can get quite bright quickly and then you can't really erase it. So this one gives you some more cushion to build up a little bit and not look as bright as fast. So I'm actually going to be adding a foundation and I'm going to be powdering, and then I'll be back for the bronzer. So while I powder here, it might just go to show that the shade that I picked up might have been too light. And if it was too light, then it kind of acted like an all-over highlighter. You know what I mean? But I put my foundation on. I am still quite glowy, but it's definitely more manageable for me. But on the same token, with the Flawless filter and the Auric, I'm also not one that would wear those by themselves either. I do think that there's a little bit more flexibility with the other ones, but it also could be that the shade Fair was just way too fair for me. I also found it a little bit tougher to shade match with this line. It just seemed to lean a little bit deeper, so perhaps my gals with deeper skin tones would also really love this line and would have better luck with finding their shade. Next, let's talk about the bronzer, which I'll be honest, out of the two products, I was a bit more excited about this one. So this is the GloWish by Huda Beauty Soft Radiance Bronzing Powder, and the shade that I picked up for this one is light. Now, I hope this one wasn't too light, but with bronzer, I would much rather build than take away. It's a lot harder to erase. So let's see what this one looks like. There are 5 shades in this bronzer. I'm just looking down at my phone here. It's a transfer-proof, non-drying powder bronzer. Non-drying. All right, let's see. Is it going to be sticky or something, or just cream-like? Let's figure this out. It's a velvety finish that gives you a natural-looking tan with subtle luminosity. And this one is vegan, cruelty-free, comes in recyclable packaging. This is definitely a plastic packaging, that's for sure. Very, very lightweight in hand. This is what it looks like here. So it actually is really beautiful with the swirl. Like, this looks like art to me. I love it. I think that looks so pretty. Very like mosaic, you know, it just looks gorgeous. So I'm actually kind of glad I picked light up, because when you swirl them together, it might be perfect. This too is also made in Italy, and it's 8 grams of product for this one. I could just stare at that compact all day. It's almost one of those ones that you don't even want to touch, because as soon as you smush them together, it's not going to look as beautiful. I didn't get the brushes with this launch because I really was hoping that it was just going to work out for me, and if they were flops, I wasn't going to be out even more money to try to do the brushes too. But so far, I made the skin tint work. Now let's see how the bronzer is. It says to use, you swirl a bronzer brush into the powder and sweep across the face. So there's nothing like tricky with it or sponge only, or, you know, treat it like a cream or anything like that. You can also sweep the powder over the eyelid for an overall sun-kissed look. So Huda is also saying that you can do it multi-purposely and use it as eyeshadow. So I'm going to try one of my BK Beauty brushes. I'm going to do 107 for this one and just see how it works. Lightly dab, because if it's crazy pigmented, I'm scared. Okay, what do you think? One layer. It's there, but I tapped so lightly. I was just worried I was going to pick up so much pigment. Now we're on layer 3. I do find that this one doesn't pick up as much pigment as I thought, which is kind of nice. It just speaks to the fact that it's going to be more user-friendly that way. Whenever you have a bronzer or a blush that picks up pigment quickly, it is a little bit of a learning curve, especially if you're someone that's just getting into makeup and you're trying to not look super heavy or overdone, and then you pick up some pigment and panic that you can't erase it. So very, very user-friendly. And I'm actually really thankful I got light, so I can build it up or I can keep it subtle if I want. Light 1 is a peachy toned bronze suitable for fair to light skin. So that's the one that I picked. Medium is for light medium. So it's a golden tone bronze. I probably could have gone with medium as well, you know, to be honest. And then I probably wouldn't have had to do as many layers for it to show up on my skin. So preference for that is totally up to you. This is a very beautiful, very easy to use bronzer. My first impression's actually really, really strong. Like, I dab all the way around, because if I dab right here at the dark spot and then dab the next at the light spot, you know, you might look a little patchy on the skin. This adds some dimension because you do have 2 of the shades together kind of swirling in. So you guys will have to let me know your thoughts on this bronzer and if you think I should have went 1 shade up. But this is also really, really nice. Out of the 2 of them, I am more excited about the bronzer to use again. I am less excited to use this one again, but that's just me being honest for the first time using these guys. This is the swatch of the bronzer here, so you can see that I definitely could have gone up. It is a very heavy swatch and barely visible on my skin. Although my hand is slightly deeper than my face, you can see that I definitely could have gone up, that's for sure. Just finishing off my base here today, I'm actually using the BK Beauty 108 just to add a little bit of highlight. And I don't know about you guys, but whenever I'm applying my makeup, especially around the frame of my face, baby hairs just show up. Like, they show up out of nowhere. I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is happening? I'm gonna try 104 for blush. It is nice and fluffy, so I'm gonna be a little careful. But you can just tap it like this on the edge. This is the MAC Extra Dimension. This is the blush I talked about in my top 3 makeup faves in every category. Like, look at that glow. Bam, perfect. This is the shade Fairly Precious. It's so pretty. Also, BK Beauty was super kind to let me know that my subscribers get a discount code. So nice. So it's Jena 10. I will leave that also in the description box as well as in the video here. If you are interested in purchasing from BK Beauty, you can get 10% off with my code. Lip gloss is obviously one of my favorites, but I have found myself having to be a little bit more careful with applying it because of my Invisalign. I can't wait to be done. I think I'm like on the last 25-30% of my treatment. So I'm very, very excited about that. Airbrush Flawless setting spray to finish off, and I am done. A little bit relaxed. That's kind of what I'm about. What are your thoughts on these products? Do let me know down below. I'm of course going to be doing some more testing as the weeks go by. I will do some final thoughts later on, but I am especially curious about the skin tint and whether or not a change of shade will be a bit of a different result for me. So I'm hoping that my local Sephora can get me a sample of another shade and just see how it goes. And the bronzer as well. Very, very pretty. Love the fact that anybody can use it, and I feel like you just can't mess this one up. Unless you get a darker shade, and then you'd have to be a little careful. But if you do stick with your shade or a little bit less, you can build it up, and it's very buildable and really glowy on the skin. Until my next one, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful. I hope you guys have a great day today. Bye, guys.